Nobody is perfect. But the problem is, we don't accept this truth. We fight it. We hide our mistakes. We hide our weaknesses. We hide our real selves. And this is where the pain begins. Because when you try to be perfect, you stop being real. And when you stop being real, you lose yourself.
Hello, my precious family. Welcome to English Dynasty. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Today, we dive into another beautiful story. So, take a second to subscribe to my channel, and let's practice your English.
Today, I will tell you a story. Not a happy story, not a fake motivational story. A real story. A story about fear. A story about failure. A story about a person who tried to be perfect and almost destroyed his life because of it. Because somewhere in this story, you will find yourself. Chapter 1. The boy who hated his imperfections. His name was Daniel. Daniel was 23 years old. He lived in a small rented room in a busy city. His room was simple: a bed, a table, a chair, and one mirror on the wall. Every morning, Daniel woke up at 7 a.m. The first thing he did, he looked into the mirror, but he didn't see himself. He saw problems. My face doesn't look good. My body is not strong. My English is not fluent. My confidence is low. Every single day, he started his morning by criticizing himself. Then he picked his clothes. He changed shirts again and again. Not because he wanted to look good, but because he was afraid that people would judge him. When he went outside, he walked carefully. He spoke carefully. He even laughed carefully, because inside his mind there was one voice. Don't make a mistake. Daniel was not lazy. He worked hard. He watched videos. He tried to improve his English. He practiced alone. But when it came to real life, he failed. One day at his office, his manager asked him, "Can you explain this report in English?" Daniel knew the answer. He understood everything. He had practiced this before. But when he stood up, his mind froze. Words disappeared. His heart started beating fast. His hands became cold. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The room was silent. People were looking at him, not laughing, just waiting. But in Daniel's mind, it felt like everyone was judging him. Finally, his manager said, "It's okay. Sit down." That moment broke something inside him. That night, Daniel didn't eat dinner. He sat alone in his room, lights off, phone in his hand. But he wasn't using it. He was thinking. Again and again. The same moment. Why didn't I speak? Why am I like this? Why can't I be normal? Then slowly, his thoughts became heavier. I am not confident. I am not smart. I am not good enough. And then the most dangerous thought came, maybe I will never change. That one sentence can destroy a person. Daniel thought his problem was bad English, low confidence, fear of people. But his real problem was something else. He believed that he had to be perfect before he could speak. He believed, I will speak when my English is perfect. I will try when I feel confident. I will act when I am ready. But life doesn't work like that. Because the truth is, you don't become perfect and then start. You start and then slowly become better. So every day, he waited, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to become perfect. And while he was waiting, his life was passing. One night, Daniel stood in front of the mirror again. He looked at himself for a long time, but this time, he didn't speak. His eyes were tired. His face was silent. Then suddenly, he hit the mirror. Crack! A small line appeared. The mirror was broken. Daniel stepped back. His heart was beating fast. He looked again. Now his face was not one. It was broken into pieces. And for the first time, he saw something clearly. Not his face, not his flaws, but the truth. This is me. Broken, imperfect, scared. And he whispered slowly, I am tired of trying to be perfect. That night, Daniel didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change. Chapter 2. The night he couldn't run from himself. That night, Daniel didn't fix the mirror. He didn't clean it. He didn't hide it. He just sat there, staring at it. The crack was small, but it changed everything. Before, when Daniel looked in the mirror, he saw one clear face. A face he judged. A face he hated. But now, his face was broken into pieces. Each piece showed something different. In one piece, he looked angry. In another, he looked tired. In another, he looked scared. And for the first time in his life, Daniel didn't look away. The room was completely silent. No music, no phone, no distractions. Just Daniel and his reflection. Usually, whenever he felt uncomfortable, he would escape. He would open his phone, scroll endlessly, watch videos, anything to not feel his thoughts. But that night, he didn't move, because something inside him said, don't run this time. Minutes passed, then 1 hour, then more. And slowly, the thoughts he'd been avoiding for years started coming out. Not small thoughts, heavy ones. Why am I always afraid? Why do I care so much about what people think? Why do I feel small in front of others? He didn't have answers, only questions. Then suddenly, a memory came into his mind. He was 12 years old, standing in his school classroom, trying to read something in English. He made a mistake. Just one small mistake. And some students laughed, not loudly, but enough. That day, he laughed with them. He acted like it didn't matter. But inside, something broke. That was the first time he felt not enough. And from that day, he started becoming careful. Careful with his words. Careful with his actions. Careful with everything. Because he didn't want to feel that pain again. And slowly, being careful became his personality. Daniel realized something that night. Something most people never realize. He was not afraid of mistakes. He was afraid of feeling embarrassed. And to avoid that feeling, he built a habit. Don't try unless you are perfect. Sounds safe, right? But it is dangerous. Because when you only act when you feel perfect, you stop acting completely. And that's exactly what happened to Daniel. He didn't speak because he was not perfect. He didn't try because he was not ready. He didn't grow because he was waiting for a version of himself that didn't exist. Daniel stood up, slowly walked closer to the mirror. He looked at the crack again, and suddenly, a thought came into his mind. The mirror is broken, but I can still see myself. He stayed still. Then another thought came. My English is broken, but I can still speak. His breathing became deeper. Then another thought, stronger this time. My confidence is broken, but I can still try. That moment felt different. Not motivational, not exciting, but real. For the first time, Daniel didn't feel like fixing himself. He felt like accepting himself. People think improving yourself is hard, but that's not the hardest thing. The hardest thing is this: looking at yourself honestly, without hating what you see. Daniel tried that. He looked into the broken mirror, and instead of saying, "I am not enough," he said something different, something simple, something honest. I am not perfect, but I am still here. His voice was low, but it was real, and something inside him felt lighter. That night, Daniel didn't promise big things. He didn't say, "From tomorrow I will become confident. From tomorrow I will change my life." No, he made one small decision. He said, "Tomorrow, I will try once, just once, not perfectly, not confidently, just honestly." And that decision was more powerful than any big promise. Before sleeping, Daniel looked at the mirror one last time. The crack was still there. The mirror was still broken. But something was different. For the first time, he didn't hate what he saw. He just said, "This is me." And slowly, he lay down on his bed. His life was not fixed. His problems were not solved. His fears were still there. But something had started. Not confidence, not success. Something more important. Awareness. Chapter 3. The day he finally faced the world. The next morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. Not because he was excited, not because he was motivated, but because his mind didn't let him sleep. He opened his eyes, and for a few seconds, he just lay there, silent. Then slowly, his thoughts started again. Today, I will try once. That sentence came back, the same one he said last night. But this time, it didn't feel strong. It felt fragile. His mind immediately started fighting him. What if you fail again? What if people laugh again? What if nothing changes? This is how the mind works. The moment you decide to change, your fear becomes louder. Daniel sat up on his bed. His room looked the same. Nothing had changed. The broken mirror was still on the wall, the crack still running through it. He stood up slowly and walked toward it. This time, he didn't rush. He stood there longer than usual. He looked at himself. Not quickly, not nervously, carefully. His hair was messy. His eyes looked tired. His face was not perfect. And for a moment, the old habit came back. You don't look good. You are still the same. You haven't changed. But then, he remembered something. Last night, he didn't promise to become perfect. He promised to try once. So instead of criticizing himself, he said something small. Just try. Not be confident. Not be perfect. Just try. That one word was enough. Daniel went to get ready. Usually, this part of his day took a long time. He would change clothes again and again, stand in front of the mirror, check every detail. Not because he liked dressing well, but because he was afraid of judgment. But today, something was slightly different. He still looked at his clothes. He still cared, but not too much. He picked a simple shirt, wore it, looked in the mirror once, and stopped. His mind tried to pull him back. Change it. Maybe this doesn't look good. People will notice. You should fix it. But Daniel took a small breath and said, "Quietle, it's okay. Not perfect, but okay." That was new. When he stepped outside, the world felt the same. People walking, cars moving, voices everywhere. But inside him, everything felt heavier, because today, he had a plan. Not a big plan, just one thing. Try once. As he walked, his mind didn't stay quiet. What will you do? When will you try? What if the moment comes and you freeze again? Each step felt like pressure. He reached his office, entered the building. Everything looked normal. People talking, people working, people laughing. And suddenly, he felt small again, like always. The old feeling returned. That uncomfortable feeling in the chest. That slight fear. That quiet voice. You don't belong here. Daniel sat at his desk, turned on his computer, tried to focus on work, but he couldn't, because his mind was waiting for the moment. And then, it came. One of his colleagues walked to his desk. "Daniel, can you explain this part of the report?" he asked. Simple question, nothing big. But for Daniel, this was it. This was the moment. His heart started beating faster. His throat became dry. His hands felt cold. The same feelings. The same fear. Nothing had changed. For a few seconds, he said nothing. His mind started shouting, "Don't do it. You will mess up. Stay safe. Say you don't know." This was the old pattern. The same pattern he followed for years. Avoid. Stay silent. Protect yourself. But then, something else came. Not loud, not strong. Just a quiet memory. The broken mirror, the crack. His voice from last night. Tomorrow. I will try once. That sentence came back. And now, he had a choice. In life, there are moments like this. Small from outside, but huge from inside. Moments where you either stay the same or take one small step forward. Daniel felt both sides pulling him. Fear was strong, very strong, but his decision was still there. Weak, but present. He took a slow breath. His voice came out, not strong, not confident, but real. I think this part shows the data from last month, and it compares it with this week. His sentence was not perfect. His grammar was not perfect. His voice was slightly shaking, but he didn't stop. He continued. He explained slowly, tried to find words, made small mistakes, paused sometimes, but he didn't run, and after a few seconds, his colleague nodded. "Yeah, that makes sense," he said. "That's it. No laughing, no judgment, no humiliation, just normal." The feeling he never felt. Before Daniel sat there, quiet, but inside him, something was happening. Not happiness, not excitement, something deeper, relief. A small, silent relief. He didn't become confident. He didn't become perfect. But he proved something to himself. I can do it, even when I am not perfect. That realization was powerful. The rest of the day, Daniel didn't suddenly change. He still felt fear, still overthought, still hesitated sometimes. But one thing was different. He didn't avoid everything. He tried again, Small moments, small attempts, a small sentence here, a small question there. Not perfect, not smooth, but real. And every time he tried, something inside him became a little stronger. Not confidence, but courage. That evening, when Daniel returned home, he stood in front of the mirror again. The crack was still there. Nothing had changed outside, but inside, something had changed. He looked at himself and didn't search for flaws immediately. Instead, he remembered the day, the moment he spoke, the moment he didn't run, and slowly, he said something new. Maybe I don't need to fix everything. He paused, then said, maybe I just need to keep trying. After saying those words in front of the mirror, Daniel went to bed with a small sense of peace. Not happiness, not confidence, but something quiet. For the first time in a long time, his mind was not attacking him. He closed his eyes and slowly fell asleep. The next morning, Daniel woke up again. The same room, the same mirror, the same life. But inside, something had slightly shifted. He didn't jump out of bed with motivation. He didn't feel like a new person. He still felt normal. And this is important, because real change does not feel dramatic. He stood up, walked to the mirror, looked at himself again. The crack was still there, the same broken reflection. But this time, he didn't immediately criticize himself. He just looked, quietly. Then softly said, let's try again today. No big speech, no big promises. Just that. The first few hours of the day felt okay. Daniel went to work, sat at his desk, did his tasks, even spoke once or twice. Small things, simple sentences. And inside he thought, maybe I'm changing. That feeling can be dangerous. Because when you feel progress, you expect things to become easier. But life doesn't work like that. Sometimes, just when you think you are improving, life tests you harder. Later that day, Daniel's manager came to him. Daniel, we have a client meeting in the afternoon. I want you to explain the report today. Those words hit him like a shock. This was not a small moment. This was not a colleague asking a simple question. This was bigger, more people, more pressure, more risk. Immediately, his body reacted. His heart started racing. His chest felt tight. His mind became noisy. The same fear, but stronger. The battle inside his mind. Daniel tried to act normal. He nodded slightly. Okay, he said. But inside, everything was shaking. His mind started speaking again, louder than before. This is too much. You are not ready. You will embarrass yourself. You should say no. You should avoid this. The old pattern returned. Stronger. Faster. Because now the risk felt bigger. Daniel sat at his desk, but he couldn't focus. His screen was open, but his mind was somewhere else. He started imagining the meeting, people sitting, looking at him, waiting. And then, he imagined himself failing, forgetting words, making mistakes, people judging. That image became stronger, more real, and slowly, fear started turning into something else. Doubt. Maybe yesterday was just luck. Maybe I can't do this again. Maybe I am still the same. This is how people lose progress. Not because they can't improve, but because they stop believing they can. Daniel stood up, walked to the washroom, closed the door. He looked at himself in the mirror there. Different mirror, no crack, clear reflection. And suddenly, the old Daniel came back. The one who criticizes, the one who fears, the one who wants to escape. You can't do this. You will fail. Just tell them you are not ready. For a few seconds, he almost decided, I won't do it. And honestly, this is what most people do. They try once, then they face something harder, then they go back, because staying the same feels safer than failing again. Daniel held the sink tightly. His hands were cold. He looked into his own eyes, and for a moment, everything was silent. No thoughts, no noise, just him. Then slowly, a different thought came. Not powerful, not motivational, just honest. If I run now, I will stay the same forever. That sentence was simple, but it hit deep. He remembered all those days, all those nights, all that pain, standing in front of the mirror, hating himself, feeling small, and suddenly, he understood something clearly. Running will not protect me. It will trap me. Daniel took a deep breath. He didn't feel confident. He didn't feel ready. He still felt scared. But he made a decision. Not a comfortable decision. Not an easy one. A painful one. I will do it, even if I fail. That sentence is where real growth begins. Not when you feel ready, but when you act without being ready. The time came. Daniel walked into the meeting room. There were people sitting, talking, waiting. He sat down quietly. His hands were still cold. His heart still fast. Nothing had magically changed. Then his manager looked at him and said, Daniel, you can start. That moment felt heavy. Everything slowed down. Daniel stood up, looked at the screen, looked at the people. And for 1 second, his mind went blank. The same fear, the same silence. This was the exact moment where he failed before. But this time, something was different. He didn't wait to feel perfect. He didn't wait to feel confident. He just started. Slowly, carefully. This report shows the performance of the last quarter. His voice was not strong, but it was there. He continued. Sometimes he paused. Sometimes he searched for words. Sometimes he made small mistakes. But he didn't stop. And something unexpected happened. People listened. Normally. No one laughed. No one stopped him. Some people even nodded. And slowly, his voice became a little more stable. Not perfect, but better. The moment that changed everything. When he finished, there was a small silence. Then someone said, that was clear. Just 2 words. But for Daniel, it felt powerful. Not because he was perfect, but because he did it. Even with fear, even with mistakes, even without confidence. That evening, Daniel walked home slowly, not rushing, not overthinking, just walking. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't excited. He was thinking. And he realized something deep. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. All this time, he was waiting for confidence to start. But now he understood. You start first, then confidence slowly follows. When he reached home, he stood in front of the broken mirror again. The crack was still there, the same reflection. But now, he saw something new. Not perfection, not success, but strength. A quiet strength. And he said slowly, "I am still imperfect." He paused, then continued, "But I'm not afraid of it anymore." That sentence was the beginning of a new identity. Not a perfect person, but a real one. And that is far more powerful. Chapter 4. The day he stopped chasing perfection. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel's life did not suddenly become perfect. He did not wake up one day as a confident person. He did not become fluent overnight. He did not remove fear completely. He still made mistakes. Sometimes he spoke wrong. Sometimes he forgot words. Sometimes his voice still shook. But something had changed forever. He stopped running. Before, Daniel used to live like this. Think too much. Fear mistakes. Stay silent. Regret later. Now, he lived differently. Try even when scared. Speak even when unsure. Accept mistakes. Move forward. Not perfectly, but honestly. And slowly, his world started changing. At work, people started noticing him. Not because he became perfect, but because he started participating. He asked questions. He shared ideas. He spoke more. Sometimes his sentences were not perfect, but they were clear. And something important happened. People didn't respect him for being perfect. They respected him for being real. One day, his manager called him. "Daniel," he said, "I want you to lead the next presentation." If this had happened before, Daniel would have panicked, avoided it, made excuses. But now, he just paused. Fear was still there, but this time, it didn't control him. He smiled slightly and said, "Okay, I will try. Not I will be perfect. Not I am confident. Just I will try." The real confidence. The day of the presentation came. Daniel stood in front of many people, more than before. His heart was beating. His hands were not fully steady, but something inside him was calm, because now he understood something deeply. I don't need to be perfect to stand here. He started speaking. This time, he was not trying to impress. He was not trying to avoid mistakes. He was just trying to communicate. And because of that, his words became natural, not perfect, but powerful. He made a few mistakes, but he didn't stop. He corrected himself and continued. And something beautiful happened. People connected with him. Not because he was flawless, but because he was human. That night, Daniel came back home. He stood in front of the same mirror, the broken one, the one that started everything. He looked at his reflection. Still imperfect, still human, still real. But now, he saw something else too. Growth, not outside, inside. And for the first time, he smiled without judging himself. Then he said something that came from deep within. "I wasted so much time trying to be perfect." He paused, took a breath, then continued. "But life started changing only when I accepted that I am not. The truth you must understand. Now listen carefully. This is not just Daniel's story. This is your story too. You are waiting. Waiting to speak when your English is perfect. Waiting to start when your confidence is high. Waiting to act when you feel ready. But that day will never come. Because perfection is not real. It is just an idea in your mind. an illusion that keeps you stuck. The real people who grow, the real people who win, the real people who change their lives are not perfect people. They are people who speak with mistakes, try with fear, fail without quitting, continue without excuses. Let me give you one truth you must never forget. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. You don't need perfect English to speak. You don't need full confidence to start. You don't need to fix everything before taking action. You just need one thing: the courage to try. So from today, stop waiting. Stop overthinking. Stop hiding. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Try, even if you feel scared. Start, even if you're not ready. Because your life will not change when you become perfect. Your life will change when you stop chasing perfection. And remember this forever. Nobody is perfect. And that is exactly why you still have a chance to become everything.